Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your number one source for all things Final Fantasy TCG, sponsored by Ultimate Guard. That's right. You got any big plans today? Anything for Memorial Day?
Cleaning, I think. Yeah.
Man, that sounds real hype. That sounds real hype.
Oh, yeah.
But I know you've got to do that, Adam. But you know what is real hype? The next episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. Guys, we are back. I'm your host, Chris Adams, and always with me, Adam Lane. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Gotta get your cleaning shoes on. Is there such a thing as cleaning shoes a thing, or is that more of like a glove situation?
If it's a thing, I don't have any cleaning. I don't have cleaning shoes.
Well, you should. You should. But Adam, we got a lot to talk about today. We were busy this weekend. We were all over the place.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun, though.
Oh, dude, I had a blast this weekend. We played in a couple of events. Obviously, there were LQs going on nationwide, and we saw some, familiar faces winning. Not a good weekend overall for the team. I know we kind of, half of us went up to an LQ in Pennsylvania, half of us went to an LQ in North Carolina, and we'll talk more about that. We'll dive in here on this special Memorial Day edition of the news. All right, so first piece of news, like we said, we've kind of worked out a partnership with Ultimate Guard, and we had our first giveaway. If you listen to the Returner 757 cast, Ryan Galloway was our first winner of the Mountains Lands 2 sleeves from Ultimate Guard. And we're actually going to be doing another giveaway in this podcast, so make sure you stay tuned till the end to see what that is. I think this is fun. We're going to be doing a lot more giveaways now that we have, some of this awesome product to, kind of share the wealth. Yeah, so stay tuned to the end. We're going to talk about that as we go along. Some of the big news, starting just kind of diving right in. LQ's Wave 2 was announced. And I know some stores got another one, like Game Theory down in North Carolina actually got one for Wave 2. I'm pretty certain Gamers Heaven up in Pennsylvania got one for Wave 2 as well. I know Island Games, that's Muhammad's home store up in Centerville, Virginia, got one for Wave 2 as well. So we've got more of these things close by to us. And, I know we've posted the full list that was the list that was provided. We actually posted on our Facebook page. So if there, if you want to see if there's one in your area for Wave 2, don't hesitate to go in there and check it out.
Yeah, it seems to be about the same size list. So, and then we know there's a Wave 3 coming. So a pretty good amount more than we had last year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, too, starting with Wave 2, that's how you can get the Road to Worlds Zidane promo. I believe if you finish top 4.
I think so. I think it's top 4. Yeah, I think it is top 4.
So, if you're not going to Gen Con or, you want to try to, win one of these Zidane promos, that find one in your area or one that's, within a reasonable travel distance for you, or, or rally the troops and make a road trip out of it. But, if you'll want to get your hands on those. And I'm going to say this, man. The competition at these things is stiff.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy. We're talking like hot whiskey stiff.
Yeah, I mean, the game's only going to get more and more stacked as more and more people get better, so.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There were a lot of LQs this past weekend. I know we saw just kind of, scrolling through the pages. Jordan Dank won at his local area. So Mr. Two-Time is already qualified for nationals. Let's see. We had Muhammad win one, but we'll talk about that event, a little bit. That he won the the Gamers Heaven LQ. Sam Toole won the one down at Gamers Game Theory. Boy, I'm getting those mixed up, aren't I?
Yeah.
So many stores with the word game in it. Who'd have thought? Yeah, so a lot of household names winning these events over the weekend. So again, the picture is really starting to shape up. So I think if you're winning these events, be ready for a brawl when you get to nationals.
I think I saw Joe Lazinski also qualified.
He did. He sure did. He won. I know Matt Rice was at that one. Yeah, Joe Lazinski. Chocobo Joe is back, and he's going to the dance again. So. Again, these things are stacked. So, I don't know these things hard to win. When you win, you just got to go play in a harder tournament. So, practice up, get ready. There's a lot of those, be on the lookout. I'm sure there's going to be some of these every weekend, over the course of the next, 2 months?
Probably longer than that once we get Wave 3, right? So, probably almost all the way up to Nats.
Yeah, just like last season. And I am glad we're getting more of these. You know, like I said at the top of this, we were real busy this weekend. We played in two events. The first one we played in on Saturday was the Jerseys Winnabox. We had a local Winnabox. It was good. We had what, 14 people at this event?
That sounds right. I don't remember the exact number, but that sounds right.
Yeah, 14, 15 people around that ballpark. And, you know, again, I can't shout these guys out enough. Connor does a really great job, you know, running these events. And, you know, it's when you go to these events, there's no, there are no like average players at these things. Like everybody comes in, they're playing like really, you know, powerful decks. Everybody knows how to play the game. So, like, going to these events, you know, it's weird saying that, you know, yeah, it's a local, but like the competition again, going back to that stiff competition. You know, I know you and I played the same deck again. We were both on Windwater, the JFB list, essentially, just with a couple card changes here or there. Adam, how was your day overall?
Well, it was
And obviously,
okay.
we both made top eight, so we had a decent day.
Yeah, it was okay. I ended up finishing fourth or third, one of those two, based on tiebreakers. Essentially the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. I ended up losing to Josh, who got second.
Mm-hmm.
I was never really in that match.
Yep.
He had like the upper hand. He always played like the first Zidane. He always had Chaos Riku kind of online before me and was able to get that before I could. And then Paul hit me a couple times, which I mean, as soon as that happens in that matchup, I probably lose.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, we were playing, like you said, the Windwater deck. I had a couple changes. I put like one Adele in there, who was really good throughout the day and winning
Yeah.
like grindier matchups where it was close, or sometimes she would just run away with the match. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was really good for me. I took out, I think, the Aerith for that, and then I ran ninjas because I felt like going into that particular tournament I wanted some backup destruction, and
Mm-hmm.
he was okay too. I was able to blow up. I think I blew up a Yuna and the Chaos, which felt pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the list is pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my big thing is I don't seem to have fun when I play that list. I've tried it a few
Mm-hmm.
times now. The more I play Yuri, I just don't have as much fun. Like the YRP stuff is actually kind of fun. I don't mind like doing the Valor and playing Fina and stuff, but like Yuri and Chelinka, and I just don't have fun playing those cards really. But they're powerful cards, so like I would never blame anybody for picking them up. But I knew like after we left that tournament that the tournament the next day I definitely wasn't gonna play that again. So
Oh yeah, it was written on your face in the top eight photo. That's for sure.
yeah, it was a pretty empty face. They asked us to show our favorite
You were
cards.
definitely dead inside.
Yeah, they asked us to
You
show our
were dead.
favorite cards, and I showed the back of my sleeves. So,
Yes.
but yeah, it was a fun tournament though. And I mean, no matter what, even when I play decks that I don't necessarily have the most fun playing, I still have fun playing the game because the game's still great. So, and that says a
No,
lot.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. The game is quality, and you know, like you, I finished. I will say my official placing. I was the sixth seed going into top eight, and I tied fifth through eighth. I want to say they actually had my official placing at the end at seventh, which was fine. But I was also playing the Windwater deck. You know, I'm a little bit different. Like I do have fun playing the deck. It's not my style of deck typically, so I tend to have a little bit more user error. But a lot of times too, like just with the power level of that deck, you know, you can make a misplay and still like salvage it and still kind of do what you were trying to do. Just maybe it doesn't feel as efficient. But you know, I have fun with the deck. Again, I'm like you, man. I love the YRP stuff. Not really a big fan of Yuri. Again, I know the card's stupidly powerful, but yeah, I mean, I had fun. I played the deck all weekend, so it was fine. But overall, it was a good event. Like I said, I lost to Colin. You said you took out Aerith for
Adele.
Adele,
Yeah.
whereas Aerith was a huge part of my day because ended up playing Fire Ice a couple times, and Aerith was huge in that match. Just pretty much making Laswell just a vanilla 8K.
Yeah.
Didn't really, you know, it was really that part was good for me. Um, but I ended up losing to Colin in top eight. Game three, he just I made the critical error of putting him to five instead of putting him to four and trying to just push for game after that because Leash just came down and took over the game, and I was like, boy, I just can't get over it. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
Yeah, she's a problem. And then
Yeah.
once she gets to 5, like you're not getting over that. You're just not. You have to have like hard removal for her.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's tough.
And it was weird. Like I couldn't waste Yuri activations to like blank her to try to get over because as like the game started progressing, he just literally drew into all of his gas, and I was like, well, I think I just lose this game. But again, that goes back to that user error I was talking about. I should have the wherewithal to know to like put them to 4 and then just push for game after that, especially when I know Lease is a huge part of the game of that.
Yeah, it's just a matchup thing for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But overall, it was a great event. Big congratulations to Spencer Hallett. He won the event. He was playing Wind Water, but a little bit different. He was playing the YRP Crystal Chronicles package, but he was running the big Una with Chaos Walkers, a little bit different loadout, which is still fine. I mean, obviously, he had a really good day with it. I'll tell you what, though, if there was any one card that was cast a shit ton at this event, it would have to be the Heroic Zidane. I'm pretty sure, like you look to your left, you look to your right, you were seeing that guy hit the table just nonstop.
Yeah, I me owned him a few times. Had to play him turn 1 once. Yeah, I mean he's absurd, honestly.
Yeah, card's
And,
pretty powerful.
yeah, it's just really intrusive, like we said in the last cast. Like being able to look at someone's hand is already intrusive enough, but being able to look at someone's hand and then take their next turn is really good.
Oh yeah, and God forbid you have the Mion follow up because you just feel even better after that. But we're not ones to just kind of rest on our laurels after an event. So that was Saturday. Again, congratulations to Spencer Hallett and big shout outs to Jerseys for running a fantastic event as always. The next day, we actually rode down to North Carolina to play at Game Theory, which is becoming, if it's not already, one of my absolute favorite places to go play this game. They're another place that just does a really, really fantastic job with all these events. And I do want to give another huge shout out to Joe Gallo. He always kind of runs these events. He kind of acts as the TO for these things, and he does a really fantastic job getting pairings up, keeping track of time, making sure he's like on the spot if someone needs a judge or like, if it's a ruling question he doesn't know, he'll definitely like crowdsource to like you or Hunter and just really Johnny on the spot with these things. So he does a really fantastic job, and it's always a pleasant experience when we go down there. So I wanted to lead with that.
Yeah, Joe's a great guy. So like every time, yeah, he's awesome, dude, and he plays too while he does all that as well. So
absolutely, and it was their first LQ this season, so it was a pretty stacked crowd. Sam Toole came down for the event. I mentioned earlier he ended up taking the entire thing, so a huge shout out to Sam. Fantastic human being, hell of a player, hell of a guy. Hunter Nance was there. Ryan Galloway just coming off the win at the Soldier Series was there. Me, Amethyst was there. She had her whole crew with her. So like this was a really packed room of full of really good players, and it ended up being a really good day. Adam, I know. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you played, how you ended up doing?
So, like I said earlier, I didn't want to play Wind Water again, so I played Mono Wind Chocobos. It's a pretty weird list, actually. So it actually stems from like a Japanese list that was out probably like a month or month and a half back. It feels really strong. I changed a couple cards. I added in an Opus 3 Barts for an extra piece of haste. And then the occasional, I never got 5 jobs with them, but it can happen in the deck. It only runs 15 backups because you have multiple ways to search out backups, which is nice. And then once you get like Fat Chocobo and stuff online, your stuff just gets like super big and out of range. And between like Fat Chocobo, Arc, Maria, like they're not blocking your Chocobos. And then then you have Zidane with the either you give Zidane haste or you party attack with Zidane with the haste Chocobo, and that just puts Zidane out of range. And then you're just ripping like cards out of their hand typically every turn. And if you're not ripping, they're playing onto the board, which then that allows you to interact with the forwards that maybe they played them before they had to or they wanted to. There's no Diabolus in the list. I know that's weird for some people to see. You can easily put it in there. Garuda was really good for me. I was hitting for like...
You got so much mileage out of that card, dude.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it's just to finish games. It did hit off a burst on Ryan for exactly 6K on his Garland. That felt really good for me, but really terrible for him, I'm sure. Yeah, and then I played Asura for like Dottaluma stuff, but it actually didn't come up when I needed it the most, which kind of
Oh,
sucked. Yeah, I lost to Hunter. It was a win in. I ended up finishing 10th. And my last round was against
mm-hmm.
Hunter, and yeah, I was never in the game. I needed either an Aerith or an Asura to potentially try to blow him out, but I don't even know if Asura would have been enough. I probably needed the Aerith in order to stop him from just freely attacking with Dottaluma every turn and pinging it with Terra. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I was able to put Rangers out, but then he was able to just kill everything but the Ranger and drop a Veritas. And the game was over as soon as that happened, for sure. I mean, it lasted about another 10 minutes, but the game was over. But yeah, I mean, it felt good. It felt fun. I like playing the Wind Warrior of Light too. It's probably one of my favorite cards in the game. And so any excuse to play that and then kind of play something a little bit combo oriented with like Chocobos is fun to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun, even though I finished 10th and came up a little short.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of be the story of the day, not just for us, but like for the entire team in general. Kind of the same thing. I actually played Windwater again. Ended up finishing X2. Actually, my placing was 13. Like I want to say like 3 X2s got in, and then I want to say like there was maybe like the next like 6 people were X and 2. But what was rough was I caught a first round loss. And it was I got crushed. Like it wasn't even like was one of Amethyst's friends, Courtney. I mean, look, she shit on. It wasn't even close. But I was coming down to like down on the last turn. I was actually starting to turn the corner and would have been able to stabilize at 6 if I would have read the board state stupid, or just it goes back to again going back to that user error with wind water. Sometimes I feel like that deck's outside of my reading level, but again, she did a great job. Then I ended up winning my next 2. Lost to there were 2 mics in top 8. I'm so bad I cannot remember his last name, but he always listens to the podcast. He's a really great guy. He was on mono ice with like a splash of earth. I want to say he ended up finishing top 4.
Yeah, Ice Earth. I mean, that's the typical Ice Earth list now, right? It's like
Yeah,
ice with like 10 Earth cards.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just he was just that the discard was too much for me to handle, and he ended up he beat me like 7-3, and then I ended up winning out. But because of where my losses kind of fell, that my breakers just weren't good enough. So once the last round hit and I finished 3-2, I was like, I'm probably around like the 11-12 spot. That's kind of where I realistically figured I was going to end. But
Yeah, I figured I was probably going to be 9 or 10 as well. Like, I thought there was like a
yeah.
slight chance I could be 8, but I figured I was pretty sure I was going to be 9 or 10.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of brutal. And I know, as far as, I know Stephen Ashworth finished, I think like 14th, like he finished like right behind me. He was also on Windwater, the exact same list. And, Josh Rose squeaked into top 8. So he was the 8th seed. And then, it was unfortunate because going into top 8, Curtis was the number 1 seed. So it kind of sucked that 2 of the teammates had to play each other right there off the bat. So
Yeah.
it was like, well, they were literally playing to see who got to go home first.
Yeah. I joked about that too, but yeah, that does suck. That ends up being the case. But you can't control that. Like you have to play how
Exactly.
you play. You're trying to get in. You can't try to. You can't try to like control that to try to get paired up. This is never gonna work out for you. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, as much as you want the stars to align, sometimes it just doesn't. But yeah, Curtis sent Josh, with an early exit there, so it sucks that returners have to take each other out. But in a very familiar fashion, Curtis ended up finishing second again, losing to Sam Tool in the finals, and he wasn't upset with how he played. He just said like his deck just kind of bricked there in the finals, but he 2-0'd his way to the finals because he had to beat Josh, then he had to beat Hunter, and then he had to play Sam. So he had a really hard road, in top 8 to actually win this thing. So the fact that he had to beat Josh, who's a really good player. Like he's a really really strong player. He's known to go in these events and actually doing very well in Swiss. And just he's someone you do have to worry about playing when you get to these higher level events. And then, right after that, he's got to play against Hunter, who we all know he's a household name at this point. And then having to play Sam, who's another household name and just a really clean player. That's a hard road. That's probably the hardest road of the bracket to get to the win.
Yeah, there's probably no easy road though. But yeah, it was
that's
very
true.
rough.
And but the weird thing is, like, finishing second at this time around does not feel nearly as bad because the prizing is still pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, worst case, you're walking away with probably like a $75 bill, somewhere around there. So.
Yeah, because you're getting what, the Raubon, the A03, you're getting a playmat,
a Laswell.
You're getting whatever kind of pack support the store offers.
Actually, it might be closer to like over. It's probably over $100 because you get the foil Lua, I think, too, right?
I believe so.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're probably looking closer to $120 maybe then walking out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's again, going back to game theory, good on them. I know their Final Fantasy product was actually pretty light, and it's actually kind of funny. There was a newer player there. I ended up having to play him in like round 2. Right before the tournament started, one of the people that worked at Game Theory, she said, we're sorry we don't have a lot of product to give out for prizing. I think they only had like a box of Opus 4, like half a box of Opus 3. They had some starter decks. Not much, and maybe some Opus 6. Not a lot to choose from. So they actually ended up just giving everybody like free packs of like Game Theory sleeves, which I fucking love those sleeves, by the way.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. I use them for limited play a lot.
Yeah, so it was a newer player named Devon, I believe was his name. I ended up having to play him round 2, but he was the reason that all the product was gone from Game Theory, apparently, because he apparently the day before he came in and had bought everything. So,
I mean,
but that's all right.
That's a good problem to have, honestly. So.
Absolutely. But overall, it was a really good event, and one of the most fun moments we had is there was a guy who came up. He was watching us play some games just on the side. I believe his name was Race. Younger college kid. He actually was, gauging a lot of interest in the game, was just like, hey, I play Vanguard, just watching you guys flip the cards for damage looks very familiar. Could you show me how to play? And we actually proceeded to like spend the next hour and a half just showing this kid how to play the game. And that was actually super rewarding, and it was a lot of fun. He seemed pretty interested. So I hope he'll start going to those locals out there that they have on Fridays.
Yeah, he played my Chocobo deck that seemed to be the thing they got in the list. So sadly, like the deck I gave you had Bell Gemini, and they have.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, and that Firewater 9 deck is actually a lot of fun. That's a deck I could easily play at locals, or if I was looking to go to like a monthly event or like a win-a-box or something, I could totally take that deck, play it, and have an absolute great time with it. But yeah, like you said, it was not the best matchup for the Chocobo deck because I didn't even know Melt Gemini was in the deck until I play the EX Steiner, and I start searching, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I like look at his board. He's got like Fat Chocobo, Maria, and Arc Out, and I'm like, yeah, I think I just get this and just Windmill slam it, and I think I'm in a great spot.
Yeah, turn it on the Chocobos back into like 7Ks, base 6Ks is pretty brutal. And I don't run any Monster Hate in that list because I wasn't really expecting anybody there to play Bell Gemini, so I didn't really figure I needed it.
Yeah, no, and for the actual tournament, absolutely. But when you start playing casual games, it's the Wild West. But I'll tell you what, dude, the most fun part of that deck is the Patty shotgun himself, Vivi, just coming in and just blasting people in the face.
Yeah, Vivi is what makes the deck fun, I think, for sure.
Oh, dude.
Vivi and Light Zidane feel really good to play.
Oh, it's insane. It's a lot of fun. The deck's a lot of fun. So if people are looking for a fun, casual, actually kind of budgety deck too, I would highly recommend playing it. It's a lot of fun. But moving right along, overall, the events we played in this weekend were a lot of fun, and a big congratulations to everybody that won, everybody that came out. The game is alive and healthy. We had, 26, 27 players at this thing?
I think it was closer to 30.
Okay. Cool, and you can actually see. I know the deck lists from both events have been posted on FF Deck. So
yeah, I was surprised.
Feel free to take a look.
Yeah, I was surprised. People posted asking me questions about very particular parts of my deck, and I was like, how do people know what I played? And then I realized they posted the entire top 16 on FF Decks.
Yeah,
So
I saw that, which is cool. Which is cool.
yeah,
Like I said, my goal a lot of times, especially this season when I'm not really trying to grind, and there's gonna be no story this year. I have a different line of play that I'm trying to take this year as far as my road to Nats, and like my goal is when I go to these events now, it's like I just want to see my deck on FFDex. That's all I'm looking for.
yeah.
So
I mean, I'm
we
still
did it two
yeah.
for two this weekend. Mission
Uh,
accomplished.
yeah, I'm still trying to win, but yeah, it's definitely not what it was last year for me for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and but even though it's kind of funny, like I'm watching Curtis like like not vicariously, but like I'm like reliving these memories from last year through Curtis. It's awful. So like I said, we went down to North Carolina, but another group of us actually went up to the Gamers Heaven LQ up in Pennsylvania. John Schreiner was up there, Colin, Ron, and CJ. They all went to the again Gamers Heaven LQ, which was won by Muhammad. Big shout outs to him. Always like seeing Virginia players win. It was him on Mono Water versus Chris Miller, who's a Pennsylvania guy. He was on Mono Ice, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, and I think Ron bubbled, John Schreiner bubbled, and I think Colin said he went 0-2 right off the bat, so he did not have a good day.
Yeah, that's usually done after that in an LQ. Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah, 0-2 means you can probably go home, which is exactly going back to the one in North Carolina. That's exactly what Will Lowe did. He went 0-2, and we never saw him again for the rest.
Yeah, I mean it happens.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah,
it's not in the cards. Sometimes your deck just doesn't operate the way you need it to.
absolutely. Absolutely, but again, big congratulations to him. Again, not the best showing for the team, but I know we all had a lot of fun, and there's plenty more of these things to go. We're all gonna really turn this around. And as far as upcoming events that we have, again, like the weeks are stacked. In 2 weeks, we've got the LQ at Jerseys. Um, I want to say like the week after that, or no, 2 weeks after that is no, the week after that I want to say is the next LQ at a game theory, or is that a little further
I
along?
think that's 2 weeks after that, and then the week after that I think is Soldier Series, and then the week after
Yeah,
that is the
the
Crystal
Crystal
Cup.
Cup,
Yeah,
and
and
then I think
then
the week after that's the one in Centerville, or some of these fall on the
yeah,
same weekend. Like, needless to say, what we're trying to say is there's a shit ton of events coming up.
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, so we're going to be busy. As far as other things going on, there was a big event over in Japan. They actually had their own Crystal Cup this past weekend, and I know their circuit's a little bit different. They only get like 2 or 3. Am I not, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. It's a smaller amount of Crystal Cups, but yeah, this one's their Earth Crystal Cup.
Yep, which I believe was won by Mono Water Fasoya.
Yeah, it was, and this one's like the EU ones, and like our last three will be where it's like it's like constructed, then draft, and constructed again.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that Mono Water Fasolia won, which is very very surprising for sure. Fasolia is a card that no one's really been playing this entire rotation of cards. Ever since Veritas came out, like you have not seen Fasolia like at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's surprising to see someone on it. I guess all the hate's gone, right? Like no one's really running. You don't really see Jill a lot anymore because no one's really running Ohanalim that much,
Mm-hmm.
unless you run into Mono Wind, because Wind Water took that out of their deck.
Yep.
So like if you don't have to worry about that, and Ice isn't even like a suit like for the bigger fields, I would say Ice isn't a huge part. So like you probably won't even see the card anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But Ice Earth is very good. You probably will see it. And some people do still run the Jill. But yeah, I mean, he played really good. I think that the Wind, Fire, Warrior, Light Chocobo deck was in the top 8. I think I saw Wind, Water, Earth, Wind. Pretty typical stuff. There was a pretty wild, I think, like Water, Wind deck that had like a low backup count that I saw. I don't remember if that made top 8 or not. But
You were saying you think the guy only played one back?
I only saw Fat Chocobo. That was all I saw. I never saw. I mean, it's possible that he just bricked pretty hard the games that I watched him play. But from what it looked like, it looked like his by design was to just be like really small and wide because he had like the new Zidane, Layla Viking, I believe Cloud of Darkness was in there. Yeah, and there was a lot of like little weenie dudes, 2 and 3 CP guys, and I didn't see a lot of backups, so it was pretty interesting for sure. It's surprising to see people play stuff like that when Veritas is very prevalent.
Oh, absolutely. So sound like he just made a call and it worked out for him. I know you can probably expect a full write up on this event on their website in the next few days. Um, but if you want, I know you can always go to the Japanese Square Enix YouTube channel and actually watch all the coverage.
Yeah, the VOD's up. Also, if you go to my Twitter, I shared it, so
Oh, awesome!
you can
Perfect.
literally go
Perfect.
watch it from there.
Yeah, 'cause it's kind of hard to catch when it's actually on because it's a really really weird time.
Yeah, they're like 12 hours ahead of us, so
Exactly. Exactly, but check it out. Like I said, we're expecting the write up to come out in the next few days, so we'll definitely have that posted because I want to see like the full top 8 deck list. See what kind of wild stuff was happening over there. But other than a great event, we got to see more Opus 9 spoilers. Adam, we got 2 of them from this event. Let's go down the line. Let's start with the Cecil.
yeah. So both of these are heroics. They're both pretty interesting cards in their own way, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So Cecil's a 4 CP water forward, 8,000 power, obviously category 4. If you control 2 or more category 4 forwards other than Cecil, he gains 2,000 power and brave. And then he can pay 0, choose a forward you control other than Cecil during this turn. The next time the forward will take damage, reduce it by 4,000 damage, and deal 4,000 damage to Cecil instead.
Mm-hmm.
You can only use this ability once per turn.
Gotcha. Now, I think it's a really solid card. Obviously, it is a title superstar. I think it's really good for limited. Constructed, it's probably not going to see as much play, but I think in like maybe a carbuncle deck where you're running the Rosa, the Opus 5 heroic, I think it's a really fine one of because the biggest issue with the card is that it name clashes with just the better, like probably one of the best cards in the game. Yeah, they're different elements, sure, but one of the things I do like about the card is that you can create some really neat interactions with some real kind of blowout style plays. Like it's such a great you block with something, they think they're going to trade. You're like, nah, we'll just we'll pay for Cecil and that thing will live, that'll die. And then if you've got like something like Minwoo out, they both just live. You know what I mean? Like there's some really neat things you can do with it. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I mean with Minwoo, obviously he's really good, but to me that just sounds super passive and slow. That's
Exactly.
the only issue with it. Obviously, if that gets online, like if you get this out and Minwoo, and you're playing against a deck that's relying heavily on damage-based stuff, or even if they're relying on like really big forwards, because now your forward has to be 4,000 bigger than their blocker that they're going to want to use, and because they have Minwoo, both guys are going to live unless that's the case, and 4,000 is a lot. So I mean that could be really good. I just don't know where he's going to fit yet, and obviously we haven't seen a lot of cards in the set, so it's possible that there's some category 4 deck that's going to be really good. That's very possible. And then if that's the case, he's even better, because then you're looking at the first line of text as potential big upside. But I mean, yeah, you can use this aggressively, you can use it defensively. It's a pretty solid card. It's going to be insane and limited. I think it's going to be really insane in title. And I'm interested to see what happens to it in standard. But yeah, Carbuncle's the first deck that comes to mind for me as well, because you already have Rosa and you can run just one of this guy, easily search him out, and then Rosa also makes it even harder to deal damage to things once you got this online too, and she's a burst. So yeah, I mean I can see it. I just don't know how good it is yet.
I'm sure as the rest of the set kind of shapes up, we'll be able to kind of gauge these a little bit better.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think he's solid no matter what. Like, there's no way he's bad.
Yeah, so. No, I agree with that. So now let's talk about the other card, this Golbez.
Yeah, so this card excites me a little bit more because I feel like there's just a lot more going on here outside of just like it. He looks like he could potentially do a lot of things. Now, I saw a lot of people think that they think this guy's kind of busted. I don't think he's that busted, but I'll just talk about the text really quick. So he's a 5 CP forward, obviously category 4, 9K. For Lightning and Dole, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a forward, you play it onto the field. You can only use this ability during your turn. And then he has an S double Meteor for S and 2 Lightning. You can choose a forward, deal at 9,000 damage. You may discard one card named Golbez. If you do, you can use a special ability again without paying the cost.
I think the card's really neat. Um, I hope there's going to be some ways to kind of set up that top deck because I'll tell you what, a 1 CP Nidhogg sounds mighty fine to me.
Yeah, if you could get that off, for sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
That seems really good. There are ways to kind of do it now, but it's really janky. You could
Hmm.
like use the Ice Yule to put something second, and then have a way to draw a card. Then Golbez, but that means that Golbez had to live for a turn. Then you had to also Ice Yule. It's like so much setup to do that. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, if you're able to get that setup and then play a Nidhogg just off the top for 1 CP, essentially,
Hmm.
it's really good. But if there's a better way to set up the top of your deck than in this set, then maybe he's really good. He's extremely
Hmm.
slow. He gets hit by Diabolos. You could easily play removal that kills him outside of Diabolos. He has to
Hmm.
make it a turn, kind of similar to Zemus, but Zemus can't. Zemus is always gonna work because like you're gonna have stuff to get back with Zemus.
Hmm.
This takes way more setup than Zemus, and it's like the same slowness as Zemus. Even slower actually, because you're spending 1 extra CP just to play him onto the field.
Hmm.
His S is cool though. You could technically loop it, right? Like you could pay the 2 lightning and S, and then however many copies of Golbez in your hand, you could just keep doing Meteor. So you could like discard, then discard again, then discard again.
Up income the new archetype. Oops, all Golbez. I love it.
Yeah, I mean you probably won't do that, but
No, not at all. Not at
but
all.
theoretically you could play 9 Golbez and do it.
Well, you can also drive a car with your feet, but that doesn't make it a good idea.
Hey, sometimes, I mean, hey, if you want to do that, it's your prerogative, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you can assuming that this works the way I think it works. You could just loop it. So every time you get the recast, you discard again. You start a new stack with the special, and it just keeps happening.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool if you
Yeah.
want to machine gun 9K. Discard all four, discard like 4 Golbez and deal 9K to 4 forwards.
Yeah, that's a board wipe, but I think there's a lot more cost efficient ways to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that only costs you 10.
Oh, is that all for the low, low price
Yeah,
of your entire hand? You can wipe the board.
so.
But no, I'm curious to see what the rest of the set holds. I hope there's some other cards like in category 4 that kind of play well with these. So I think that'd be really cool to see. I'm really excited for Opus 9, and I can't wait to get more spoilers as the week goes on. So as those pop up, we'll be on the lookout for those, and we'll see what's coming down the pipe for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, these are pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else is in the set. Haven't seen any Final Fantasy 12 cards yet, and we know that those are there.
Dude, I'm foaming at the mouth for that.
Yeah.
I need them real bad. But yeah. So now that's about that. We got a big event coming up this weekend, Adam. It's the next North American Crystal Cup. The next North American Worlds player will be determined up in Toronto at I know is it I'm pretty certain they've changed locations,
They did. I think it's at some
but I
hall,
think
like event hall now.
it's still run by the same people, just at a different location, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
believe so. I haven't been super following that part because I already knew I wasn't going.
Yeah.
Um, I just know it's still happening and it's still being streamed. That's all I know. But
Exactly, and the cap has been increased, which is awesome.
yeah, which is sweet. Yeah.
And so and I know the break zone's going to be doing the coverage for that one, and they've really been going all in on some fresh equipment just to make sure that it's a good viewing experience. So big shout out for those guys. I know it sounds like they're going to have some player interviews between rounds. They're going to have a second match going on that I believe they're recording, so they can kind of do like the magic like time shifting thing.
Well, no, I think they have like an actual camera on a rail, so they're able to
Okay,
switch.
I know they got the rail camera, so they're just going to switch back and forth, kind of like how we do.
I believe so.
Well, and that's good. That's good. Having that double feature match is going to help with a lot of downtime, which is still just a glaring issue with coverage in this game. So it'll be exciting, and so Adam, let's just get down to brass tacks here. The meta is kind of shaped here for Opus 8. Would you agree?
To an extent, I think there is definitely some stuff out there that is good that we're not seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, people have kind of like settled in and dug their boots in the sand
Mm-hmm.
and have kind of figured out like what they think is really good.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, are you expecting kind of more of the same from when the dust settles and we're hearing your top 32, which I believe Toronto is all constructed as well,
Yeah, it
correct?
is.
There's no
This
draft
is
in
the
this one.
last one. Yeah, this is the last
Okay.
one that's all constructed.
Top 32 is a little bit weird because top 32 is you can have a good enough day and get into that cut.
Hmm.
Now, when the dust settles and we get down to like our top 8, do you expect more of the same? Do you expect to see your mono waters, your wind waters, your fire ices, your earth winds, maybe a sprinkling of scions here?
Yeah, I expect to see all those things. I don't expect anything too terribly weird. I wouldn't be surprised if like some of the Canada guys brings out a different wind water list than what we're seeing. Um,
Maybe some Sid 2 perhaps.
it's possible. I wouldn't be surprised. They're very good players. It's still a really good card. You just have to dedicate a good portion of your deck to it. I think that's the biggest drawback. But if the card is online early, like it's gross. It's still really gross. Um,
Mm.
I mean, I do expect to see a lot of the same stuff. I would be pleasantly surprised if we saw something off the wall. I expect to
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of mono water. It's a very, very good deck. I expect to see a lot of earth wind. It's very popular, still very strong. Expect to see a good amount of like the typical wind water list, kind of what we were playing this weekend, the JFB list.
Yep.
Also really good. You might see some Scion stuff, but I imagine if it is Scions, it's probably Greg Cole somewhere sneaking in there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty typical stuff. I mean, you'll see some off the wall stuff because top 32, like you said, you just have to be good enough to get there. So I think you could get away with playing some other stuff, and there's some other like fringy things that are pretty decent and can win sets, like the Final Fantasy VII deck, like the Final Fantasy IX deck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? But I expect when the dust settles that you're going to see much of the same.
No, absolutely. Now I know in typical fashion we're gonna be on the lookout here, possibly this week for some videos of decks we would play were we going to Toronto. Adam, if you were going, what deck would you land on? Gearing up for the event, what deck what deck do you think you'd be playing going to this event?
Probably mono water. Same thing I would be playing the last 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know. I think it's extremely safe and extremely good. Most of the lines are kind of straightforward. There's not a lot of things people can do to blow you out. There are a few, but there's not a lot. Like, sure, people are attacking for Veritas, but that's fine. Like, he's still really good. And you're not really going to be able to stop his exit trigger. You can do some cool stuff if you stack to his exit trigger, right? And but you're still going to lose something, even if you do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd be on 3 Veritas or 2, but I would probably be playing Mono Water Veritas if I was playing.
Yeah, no, I hear that, man. If I were going, I'd probably be playing. I probably wouldn't be playing Wind Water again. I don't want to burn myself out on that. I'd probably be playing like Wind Earth with the fire variant with the clouds, the lease, the phoenixes. I'd probably be giving that deck a try because I think that's a really, really solid way to play Wind Earth. And it just cloud is just such a ball buster late game for a lot of decks. And again, a card like lease coming down the home stretch makes combat extremely difficult for a lot of decks.
Yeah, I think Cloud's going to probably end up being a mainstay in that list now. In my opinion, I mean, I would play it. Okimoto won his local qualifier with that. And
I know Curtis has been playing it.
Yeah, Curtis got second at the LQ with a pretty similar list. Some differences, but it's pretty similar. I mean, yeah, he just kind of does what Cecil does. Except sometimes maybe he kills something earlier than Cecil could, and sometimes he kills something Cecil will never be able to kill. Both are bursts. Both are big. You're probably never going to mill in that list because if you do, you'll probably deck yourself out. But he also makes Phoenixes feel less bad earlier in the game because you're gonna more effectively be able to cast Phoenixes off 3 backups, and even off 5 without Chaos if that ends up happening to you for some weird reason. Because you have the Clouds and the potential Lease to pitch, and then Lease gives you another Phoenix target if you want to go that route, if you want to get the more power on your forwards to make it harder to deal with.
Yep. And then you pile all of those new lines just on top of the old reliable Noctis Cactuar, Noctis Cecil, Dataluma Cactuar. So you've still got those same just ball busting lines, and now you've got just a whole nother layer on top of that. So that's probably the deck I'd play. I'd probably I would be seriously just in the lab getting some serious reps on the deck before I went, just to learn matchups and things like that. But that's what I'd be doing. But I agree with you, Adam. I think we are going to see a lot more of the same, and maybe that's not a fair assessment because not every Wind Water deck is going to be the same. Not every Wind Earth deck is going to be the same. Clearly, from what we were just talking about, but does it go back to kind of like the cores of the decks being innately the same, and also the fact that these archetypes are still extremely powerful? And we got a world spot on the line. Yeah. You don't want to take some kind of random jank to this event and hope it works.
To me, that's the same. Like, they're the same deck. Like,
yeah,
sure, we're playing different deck lists, but we're playing the same deck. Like, if I play the Earth Wind list and I take out one Cecil and put in one 7 CP Sephiroth or one Renoa, like, are we not playing this? Yeah, are we not playing the same deck? It's. I mean, you can do these things and make it unique and make it yours, but at the end of the day, you're still playing Earth Wind, whatever you want to call that deck now. But, I mean, it's an Earth Wind deck. It's just like, if you're playing Wind, Water, YRP, FFCC, and I put Nadell in my list, right? It doesn't make my deck different than JFB's, really, other than, the 2 cards that I changed. We're playing the same deck. My deck list is just different.
It's like taking a frozen pizza out of the freezer and rearranging the pepperonis.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So, I mean, when I say decks, that's what I'm talking about. Like, sure, if it's 5 to 10 cards difference, okay, but unless those 5 to 10 cards are a big core piece of the deck, I don't really foresee. I don't see that as a different deck per se.
Mm-hmm. Now, so we're kind of firmly planted that the archetypes are going to kind of be the same, right? Which, it makes predicting or talking about what we expect kind of bland, right? Which, again, this I'm just plugging once again that I think bans would be healthy in this game to shake things up, because here we are for the 3rd Crystal Cup in a row talking about pretty much the exact same decks again.
Yeah, I mean, just a counter argument, I guess. This is the same set still. So I'm not. If this continued on past Opus 8, if we're still seeing this stuff in Opus 9 and nothing else is changing other than a few cards slotted in here or there, then I totally agree with you. But metas are always gonna. There's always gonna be a meta. You can't prevent a meta from happening. It's just not
absolutely
possible.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah, we can ban some things and make things different, but the decks could settle and we could just be in something stale all over again right after. It's super possible. But I do think it would be nice to see some cards go just for variety's sake, because otherwise, there's just going to be no reason to play. If you're playing certain colors, there's no reason to not play certain cards. I mean, sure, I didn't play 3 CP Zidane and 5 CP Diabolos in my Chocobo list on Sunday, but, those cards are still absurd, and I still think if you're not playing them in your win list, you're probably wrong. And that could even go back to what I played too. I could have been totally wrong too for not playing those cards. So,
but decks aside, a lot of times deck is only as good as the person playing it. Adam, let's talk about who we think. Who is your? We know some people that are going. Who is your pick to go ahead and take this thing down?
I mean, it's Dank's home turf, right?
You and I are on the same page on this one.
So
it's hard to not bet on Mr. Two-Time himself.
But that's not to say that he doesn't have some stiff competition. I have no idea what he's going to be on. I know he likes Mono Water a lot. when we talked to him before Tampa, but I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if he's got something up his sleeve that people aren't seeing. Like, you know, I mean, last year at Nets, he brought the Sid 2 Fasoya win water list, which is something that I hadn't seen. So it's very possible we're in a situation like that where he's got something that we haven't seen yet, and that would be sweet. I would be totally all about it. You know, and then, you know, you can't sleep on Okimoto. I mean, he's been really consistent this year. Not quite making it all the way, probably as far as he would like, but, you know, he's kind of stuck his line in the sand on Earthwind. I assume that's what he'll be on again. But maybe not. Again, he can pilot probably whatever he wants, whatever he thinks he gives him the best chance. But he's up there. I'm pretty sure Sam Prime is going. I imagine he'll be on something his style, which will probably be something that you don't see very often. Jonathan Gordon, another homeboy. He's been pretty consistent as well, right? I mean, I imagine he'll be on Water Lightning. That's been kind of his baby that he's been tweaking, and he's top cut. He's made the top cut in every Crystal Cup so far. So I imagine that'll probably happen again. It's a deck he's comfortable on, and it's a deck a lot of people don't get a lot of reps against. And then I think we only have one Richmond person going, right? Just Colin.
Yep, I think Colin Coughlin's the only one from Richmond going. So obviously we'd love to see him do well. And I believe from Fredericksburg, I believe Lord Byron is going as well.
Okay, and then is John Shiner and the Jersey boys, are they going?
I believe they're passing on Toronto, but they're going to Arizona.
I got you. Yeah, so, I mean, there's definitely going to be some faces missing, but there's still going to be a lot of strong people there that could take the thing down.
And I know, like, myself, Curtis, and Steven were talking about going, but, like, the process for the passport would have just kind of been right to the wire, because I don't have my passport, and I was thinking about just getting, like, the passport card, which is just, you know, the Diet Coke of passports. But, like, the time frame is still the same unless you, like, drive to D.C., go to one of the – and I'm like, that just sounds exhausting. I'll just make sure I just take care of this later this year and not have to – so that way when it comes around next year, I can just go and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of people there. You know, like they extended the cap, so which is going to be cool. Hopefully it hits over 100 people, and then we'll see another nice size, big North American tournament. And I'm interested to see what wins. And I hope we do see some new stuff. So.
No, absolutely. And we'll kind of wrap up on this, our giveaway. We'll go ahead and wrap up on this. Adam, we're going to give away a pack of sleeves, pack of those Ultimate Guard land sleeves. We're going to talk prediction. We're going to talk what deck do we think takes down the whole of Adam, we've seen Fire Ice and we've seen Mono Water win 2 of the Crystal Cup. What do you think wins this event?
I mean, I'd like to think what I would play is going to win. So, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Mono Water to win again. But I would not be surprised if it was Earthwind also. Like, those would probably be my 1 and 2.
Gotcha. And for me, I think it's going to be Wind Water. I just think it's just a strong archetype no matter how you slice it. And in the hands of like a really, really strong pilot, it's just a really hard deck to beat. Like, it's very, very hard to beat. And again, a guy like, JFB proved that over in Milan. And I know a lot of those guys up there, Jordan Dank specifically, I know you said he talked about Mono Water earlier. Wind Water, again, like you said, is his baby, so he could easily, slam through this event with Wind Water. But also, too, I think if I had to pick a secondary, it would be Wind Earth, just because I just think that archetype is still incredibly powerful, and it just has a lot of answers for a lot of different things. So those would be my 1 and 2, as extremely similar, because they're just good cards. These decks have good cards in them. And turns out good cards win games.
Yeah.
And so, no, go ahead, Adam.
I know, I was saying that's typically how that works.
Yeah, it turns out that was a very John Madden thing to say. Well, if you got the best cards, you're going to win the game. Popcorn popper. But that's part of the giveaway here. So guys, when we post this on our Facebook page, we're gonna want you to comment on the Facebook page what deck you think is going to win, and just by providing the comment, we will actually enter you into the drawing to get the sleeves. So just post them down there what you think is going to win, and and if you want to get that extra credit, who do you think is going to win? So I just want to make this as interactive as possible. So like, there's a lot to choose from. Who knows? We could see all be completely wrong, and some like fringe Final Fantasy 9 list comes off the top rope and just wins the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that would be dope. But yeah, just make sure you post on the Facebook page, on our Facebook page. So I know we share it out
Yep.
to like several places. It has to be
Yeah,
on
post it
our
on the returner.
post. Yeah, it has to be on our post, on our Facebook page, and all you have to do is post what deck you think's gonna win. You don't have to be right or you don't have to be right. Just make a guess, and then yeah, we're gonna probably pick one of those. We're gonna pick one of those people, and send them some sleeves. So
Yeah, and I think we'll probably just have that post that winner on next week's cast, because we'll be actually talking about the wrap up of the Toronto Crystal Cup on next week's cast. So we'll have our winner then. So I think it's going to be just a great event overall. I do wish I was going, but I think we're going to get some really solid coverage. I can't wait to see what the Break Zone has in store. I'm looking forward to player interviews. I'm looking forward to less down. And is that I sound like a broken record talking about that stuff, but something's got to give. So I have all the faith in those guys with their new equipment that they'll be able to knock this one out of the park. And good luck to all the players going. I think it's just going to be a great event all across the board for everybody.
yeah, I'm excited to watch for sure.
Yeah. But with that being said, Adam, any parting thoughts?
I got nothing.
No, I heard that. Well, now I'm going to go to work on this Memorial Day. It's not my first choice, but I'm getting paid for it, so I can't really complain. But so much, I'm literally just going to sit there and play my Switch all day. So this will be great. But
Sounds like a decent day.
yeah, and enjoy. Hope you got your cleaning shoes on, so you go ahead and enjoy that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I've got nothing else, guys. Thanks for listening, as always.
Yep. See you guys later.
Toodles.